Well, Ann Coulter, best-selling author. Her latest bestseller, New York Times bestseller, is In Trump We Trust. And, of course, her column, it comes out tomorrow. You go to AnnCoulter.com and sign up there. And, of course, follow Ann Coulter on Twitter, one of the greatest tweeters on Twitter, and Ann Coulter on Facebook. Ann Coulter, how you doing?
Fine, thanks. How are you, Mark Simone?
Very good. Are you a little upset about no more Charlie Rose to watch in the morning?
As you know, I don't know what's on TV in the morning.
Oh, but do you know this Gayle King? She always seemed to me like quite the treacherous snake. And
I've heard she's on in the morning.
Yes, I don't know. She seems a little too happy about this Charlie Rose going, her co-host. And she was on 400 shows yesterday to talk about how painful it is for her to talk about this. I don't know. It doesn't look good. And this Al Franken.
Yes, that's a good one.
But they say Roy Moore, if he's a sexual predator, how could he? He's not fit to be in the Senate. It sounds like he'd fit in perfectly with these people.
Yes, but they are quite different cases. MSNBC is giving, Franken all kinds of credit for, admitting it. There's a photo. That's the only thing he admitted. And what is not in the photo, Leanne Tweeden's description of him forcing himself on her in a big, wet, disgusting kiss in the green room beforehand, he doesn't admit. He's calling her a liar on that. Well, that's not how I remember it. So everything that there is not photographic evidence of, he is denying. There are certainly no photos with Roy Moore. As I may have said, I don't know when it started to fall apart and whether I mentioned this last week, but I felt like I'm reading a mystery novel. You see the accusers and think, wow, this is bad, looks very credible. And then the stories just completely fall apart. Most strikingly, particularly because it involves Gloria Allred, was the second accuser, Beverly something. First of all, we find out a little detail that she hadn't mentioned, that Judge Roy Moore was the judge on her divorce case. MSNBC is rushing to say that, it was just pro forma. So what? He was the judge on her divorce case. You don't think that's relevant to mention? And then, most hilariously, and I guess I should tweet out the video of this. But Roy Moore said that he had never met her. They produced a yearbook that he had allegedly signed, weirdly at Christmas time in December of whatever year it was, many, many years ago. And Roy Moore looks at it, and his lawyers say, this isn't his signature. It's in two different inks. He signs it DA, and he wasn't the DA then. We would like to look at it for a handwriting analysis. I mean, it was obviously intended to imitate the judge's signature, which would be on lots of documents. Gloria Allred not only refuses to produce it, but refuses to deny that it's a forgery or say that if it's a forgery, it would make a difference to the case.
Yeah, and handwriting experts will tell you they can tell with 100% certainty whether that's his signature or not.
Is that right? I don't even know that.
Yeah.
But they do need to see the original document. They can't just look at a photo online. So, wow, it's suspicious that Gloria Allred won't produce the signature. Then last night I was reading on Breitbart the original accuser, and there are only two accusers. This is something the media is desperately trying to confuse people on by saying, all these women, 10 women. No, most of them are, even if true, and I'm not sure. I mean, Roy Moore says, yeah, I dated younger women, but I'm not sure he's admitting specifically to any of these. They're not accusing him of any kind of sexual assault. They're saying that when they were 17, 18, 19, and he was 30, 31, 32, they dated. They did nothing more than kiss. Fully voluntarily. That's less than what Jerry Seinfeld did a few years ago with Shoshana. He was 39, she was, or 38, I guess, and she was 17. Yeah. So no. Look, you may think that's a little creepy, and if so, I hope you did with Seinfeld and many others as well. But that is not the same as a sexual assault. There are only two women claiming sexual assault. One, as I say, is this Beverly, and there was the yearbook issue. Oh, also, her stepson made a video saying, I don't believe my stepmother. She's a liar.
Well,
okay,
that's a pro forma video, probably.
A pro forma video?
Yeah, like the pro forma divorce. But
that's right. So the first one that they're featuring all over, and so we now have this one accusation, I would say, by Korfman. That was the first one, the 14-year-old girl. She absolutely is claiming a horrible thing. But is it true? Well, Roy Moore heatedly denies it. And as I say last night on Breitbart, I don't know. It seems like kind of something that would throw her story into doubt to me. Her claim is she met Roy Moore outside the courthouse. Her mother said, "Can you watch my daughter while I go in for the custody hearing?" And then while he's sitting there, he gets her number, and he starts afterwards. He's calling her repeatedly for dates, has her meet him around the corner from her house, and they give the location around the corner from her house. He picks her up twice and brings her to his house at least definitely the second time, and basically molests her. Takes her shirt off, puts her hand on his private parts, which are his private parts. In Clinton's case, we have to call them his semi-private parts. So that's the accusation. Now, according to Breitbart, the custody hearing was specifically to turn over. Oh, and she said because of this experience, she became wild. She took drugs. She ran around with boys. It just, ruined her teenage years. In fact, the custody hearing was for Korfman's mother to give custody of the girl to the father because she was such a wild child then. 12 days later, she moved out of her mother's house, so the claims of her making her getting phone calls at her mother's house seem a little bit questionable. You would think, and I was only living there for another 12 days, would have figured into it. But the biggest thing is the cross street where she says Roy Moore picked her up is way on the other side of town.
Yeah. Listen, sometimes it's a terrible case, these accusers, but sometimes, remember the woman on the airplane with Donald Trump? She looks like Granny on the Beverly Hillbillies. Even young, she must have looked...
The MSNBC is going to be after you for being a looksis. They're very upset at Donald Trump for having intimated something to that effect.
Well, wait, I'm just saying,
out of your mind.
In her youngest, best-looking days, she still looked like a mousy librarian. Do you honestly picture that's Donald Trump's type that he would hit on?
Well, also there were. You wouldn't do it on an. For one, no. I'll take a more global view of the nonsense on Trump in a moment. But there was another. You wouldn't do it on an airplane with other people sitting there. There was another guy who remembered being on that plane who said it never happened. And on the global point about the accusations against Trump, two things. The New York Times, in that totally hilarious article, so hilarious, I wrote a column about it. Front page article, the New York Times deploys its best investigative reporters. This is back in, March 2016. It was early in 2016. I don't think he was the nominee yet, but it was close. 6 months they're looking into Trump's relationships with women. They run down, all of these, Miss Universe contestants, girls he's dated, so on and so forth. Front page article. And they got nothing. They got nothing. They're talking about, their big story was, he let a girl borrow a bikini from Mar-a-Lago when a bunch of the contestants were down by the pool. And when she came out, he said, "Doesn't she look great?" New York Times neglected to mention that, and also they went on to date, and she has very fond memories of him. So they got nothing with all their investigative reporters. Then 4 weeks before the election, suddenly all these women come forward with sort of vague, non-disprovable claims. MSNBC keeps saying, taunting Trump, saying that he said after the election he was going to sue for these women for defamation. He hasn't done it, so they must be true. Well, for one thing, I suspect when he said that he didn't think he was going to win. He is president now, kind of jammed, but most importantly, as the Paula Jones case proved, it was taken to the Supreme Court. We have a full Supreme Court ruling. You can sue the President of the United States for actions outside his role of being president. And actions he took long before he was president are well outside that realm. That's why Paula Jones was allowed to sue Bill Clinton for dropping his pants and saying kiss it when he was governor of Arkansas. So why haven't any of these ladies sued?
Yeah, very good point. Hey, I hate to say it, we're out of time. Everybody get Ann Coulter's book, In Trump We Trust, and get her...
Happy Thanksgiving, Mark Simone.
Happy Thanksgiving. Get her column. It's tomorrow it comes out. And follow Ann Coulter on Twitter. Excellent tweets. And on Facebook. And Ann Coulter, thanks for being with us.
Thanks. Good to talk to you. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.